Robinhood posted really good second quarter 2025 financial results after the market closed on Wednesday. Now, as I'm recording, the conference call has not yet started yet, so we don't have the details from that conference call, but I wanted to go through the numbers here quickly to just give you an idea how impressed I am with the quarter and how well the company is doing. Now, this is actually the biggest position in the asymmetric portfolio, not because I've invested a ton of money in Robinhood stock, but actually because it's grown so significantly. Shares are up over 300%. So just a phenomenal performer, and it looks like that performance is going to continue. Let's dig through things. My name is Travis Hoyam. Thanks for watching Asymmetric Investing. And if you want more from me, check out my Asymmetric Investing newsletter. That's where I'm going to go through every single stock that I buy every single month. That's going to be coming out later this week. So if you're interested in that, there's a link on the screen and a link in the show notes. That asymmetric portfolio has crushed the market since it started. So love to have you as part of that community there. Now let's start with the market's reaction just after results came out. You can see that shares spiked a little bit, a couple of percentage points, but are actually down slightly. So I think that's interesting because this was a beat from Robinhood. As we look through the numbers, I think there's a lot to like here. A couple of things. I don't want to focus too much just on revenue, net income, adjusted EBITDA, the things that they're going to be reporting, because you want to look at the fundamentals underneath, what's happening under the hood for long-term growth. So growth in funded customers, that is starting to pick up. Added 750,000 sequential customers and 2.3 million over the past year. I would like this number to be higher, but that is great momentum. Those customers that they're attracting are also wealthier than previous customers. 26% increase in total assets on the platform. We'll go to a breakdown in just a second about what those assets are. Actually, a lot of growth in equities. So the fact that the market is doing well has really benefited Robinhood as far as total assets on the platform. This is going to be a proxy for basically just how much money is in the ecosystem. The other thing, this is what you should be paying a lot of attention to, is how many Robinhood Gold subscribers are. When I did the original Spotlight article on Robinhood, I called this a little bit like a Costco style business in finance. Now that may not make sense on its surface, but what a membership business model does is it changes the economics for everything else that you do. So Robinhood loses money on every transaction on the Robinhood credit card. Why can they do that? Well, they're making money on this Robinhood Gold subscription. They're making money on trading. They're making money on margin accounts. So there's puts and takes, and you can just have a completely different look at how you're going to generate revenue and profitability if you have this money coming in from 3.5 million subscribers now and 13% of your customers. So this is going to be kind of a proxy for how sticky is the platform, and it's getting stickier and stickier. 290,000 sequential additions there. Net deposits, this is going to be volatile over time. Really, I'm not reading a lot into this, except that maybe people have a little less money to put into the market right now. So $13.8 billion worth of additions. And I'll note here, this is the amount that was added on a per subscriber basis. This is less than you had last quarter. So there's some puts and takes there in the deposit dynamics. Here's the financial results. You can see that revenue relatively flat. So that's going to be something that's going to be volatile over time, depending on how much people are spending on credit cards, how much trading they're doing. But like I said, underneath the hood, you want to look at those assets on the platform. That's going to be a better indication of Robinhood's health than just looking at the revenue numbers. Operating expenses, relatively flat. That's good news because you want to have operating leverage in the business as they grow the platform. Adjusted EBITDA continues to rise, now 56% of revenue, and net income, some lumpiness here because of some tax benefits late in 2024, something that hit a lot of companies, but $386 million in net income. Lots of good momentum, solid growth year over year, but sequentially, maybe not a ton of growth for the business. Product velocity is something that they talk about a lot, because what you want to have is you want to have the platform be growing. If this was just a mobile app and trading platform, that's not a really compelling business. But the fact that they can add all these different products, grow into more geographies, collect more wallet share is the terminology that they use. That's all going to be good news. So a couple of acquisitions here, acquired WonderFi, Bitstamp, the tokenization of US stocks in Europe, US staking. So just lots of momentum in the business. And the roadmap still has a lot of optionality, active traders, a lot of options there for growth. Wallet share, a lot of opportunities to grow. The credit card, that's something where they have, I think it's a couple 100,000 people on the wait list for the credit card. So should be a big revenue expansion there, although maybe not real high margin because of those dynamics I talked about with the credit card. Strategies continues to roll out. The banking products, I don't think we've really seen a lot of that yet. And then additional account types, custodial accounts is something I'm looking for my kids, but a lot of different accounts that they could potentially add to bring in more customers, whether that's people using it themselves or even accounts that are managed by other people. These are all areas where they're going to be able to expand their market share. This is those assets on the platform. So this is where you can see a breakdown of the amount of assets. I mentioned that equities is actually the big growth driver in the second quarter. So really good quarter for the performance of equities, $160 billion. One that gets a lot of attention is going to be cryptocurrencies. That's 41 billion. That's a lot of money, but it's not a vast majority of the funds that are on the company. And then there's a growing amount of RIA assets, or registered investment advisors. So that, like I said, that could be a huge growth avenue for Robinhood over the next few years. And as this business matures, one of the reasons that I like the company more now than I did even a year or two ago is just that it's become a much more mature business. You have the addition of credit cards, and the growth that they've had in retirement accounts is really phenomenal. These are people who could potentially be with Robinhood for decades, up to 1.5 million retirement accounts, and the amount of assets under custody, now $19 billion. Look at back to Q2 2023, that was $800 million. So more than a 20x increase in the assets under custody in those retirement accounts since then. If we go back to up to, the opportunity is still tremendous because we have 279 billion in assets under custody. Only 19 of that is in retirement accounts. So this is something that could easily grow another 10, 20, 30x over the next few years. This is what is going to give you the picture of where revenue is coming from, especially on the trading side. Volumes up for equities, volumes up just slightly for options, but a big decline in volumes for cryptocurrencies. This isn't surprising given the crypto market kind of cooled off a little bit since that crazy boom right around the election in 2024, pulled back. And that's what you're seeing there is going to be just generally less revenue from crypto trade. And here's that breakdown. Transaction-based revenue is going to be where all of your transactions from equities, options, and crypto is going to be. That is actually in decline. Again, that's going to be driven, if we go here, by a reduction in the gray segment, the crypto trading. That has gone from 358 million in revenue in Q4 to 160. That's going to be housed mostly in this segment. But look at where there's growth. Net interest revenues and other revenues, those are doing extremely well. This is where things like the credit card and other fee-based businesses are going to be housed. 296 to 356, sequential change 23% and 72% respectively for net interest and other revenue sources. If you're interested in where that net interest revenue comes from, securities lending, cash sweeps, interest on segregated accounts, margin accounts, all of that is broken down here. So you can see a lot of different revenue sources for Robinhood. This is what I'm talking about. When you get people on Robinhood Gold, you're going to be able to grow all of these different segments. So a really solid quarter from Robinhood. I like everything that I'm seeing in the momentum in the business, and especially those underlying key performance indicators. The challenge is the stock is just really expensive. 25 times sales, that's still where it's trading. Even after this report, it didn't really come down much despite a lot of growth in second quarter 2025 revenue. So wouldn't be surprised to see the stock pull back just if those expectations don't keep up with 50% compound annual growth rate. Remember, that growth is going to be lumpy depending on what's going on in the business. Crypto's down a little bit, equity's up a little bit. There's going to be a lot of puts and takes in the second half of the year. This is my biggest holding in the asymmetric portfolio. I'm absolutely not selling, but I also don't want to set those expectations too high because this is a very, very expensive stock today. Hopefully that was helpful context in understanding what's going on with Robinhood stock today. I'll be covering this more both here and then also on Asymmetric Investing, the newsletter after the conference call. Hopefully we get some good information about what's going on in the business there. But let me know if you have any questions or comments in the comments section below. If you haven't already, join on Asymmetric Investing. Like I said, link in the screen and a link in the show notes. I'll be putting up my buys for August. That'll be coming out later this week on Friday. So subscribe there if you are interested in that. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you here next time.